Hello, everyone. Welcome, Sensitive Empowerment Community. So nice to spend some time with you guys. This is our 42nd event, and looking forward to checking in with everybody. And I wanted to let you guys know that you can make comments in the chat. Today, you can even come on video or audio if you want to talk also. You can raise your hand. Things like that. So welcome everybody. I just want to start off by kind of, before we jump into questions, just acknowledging the suffering that's happening right now and that I know a lot of sensitive people are experiencing. I mean, everybody around the world is experiencing suffering right now, and we're experiencing it on all kinds of different levels and layers. And the fact that you're here shows so much that you are part of this beautiful sensitive empowerment community, trying to learn and grow and connect together. And I think part of that is about, you know, we use a self-compassion practice in an example like what we're experiencing right now with the sense of acknowledging our suffering. That's where we start. We always have to acknowledge what we're experiencing, what's going on around us. And normalizing and validating those experiences are important, and moving into that stage of really asking, what do we need right now in this moment? So I want to encourage anyone who's live to go ahead and put in the comments if you have if you want to jump in with any questions. Please say in the comments that you have a question. And if you want to speak your question out loud, then just say, you know, I'll speak it via video or audio. So I have a sense of, yeah, Nif says, I want someone to hug me and say it's fine. Well, let me send out some virtual hugs to you all in the community. I think that we can all use a big hug right now, and hopefully we can learn how to sort of give that sort of back to ourselves too, that the love that we give out to the world, that we're able to start bringing that back to ourselves too, to support these strong emotions that we're experiencing. And we're all at different stages of learning. Some of you are at the beginning stages of learning. Some of you are at the higher levels and have tools that you're using and that are working. And there's no such thing as perfection. We just keep trying our best, and we are open and really stay in a place of learning and growth. And I think that that really supports our mission in this community anyway. So I'll start with some questions that were pre-written just to make sure that we get everybody's questions answered. But also, I'm going to keep checking back into the chat. If anybody's live and has a particular question they want to answer, I really want to give you priority since you're here live. So I'll keep checking back in between the questions, but please do let me know how I can support you. And I'm going to try my best with being able to support you and give you the information that I have and that I can share with you. Matea she says, thank you. I really struggle with self-compassion as I am burnt out and feel guilty. I'm allowed to come so far with my health. You know, you're not alone in that feeling for sure. And self-compassion, to be really good at it, takes a lot of practice. And I will tell you that straight up from somebody myself who had no self-compassion when I first started. It really does take a consistent level of effort, because I truly believe it's a brain training skill that you get better at with practice, and we keep practicing. I think that given the state of events in the world right now, I don't think any of us are in a place where everything's fine and okay. It's not okay. And, you know, we're here together to support each other and to keep developing and using those tools that we have. And because even as a sensitive person that feels things so intensely, even for myself, if I can bump up my level of balance and self-care just a little bit, even, it can make a difference. And so we keep trying, we keep taking those steps, and we keep trying. I posted an article in the community today that I invite you guys to check out. And it is called Anguish and Action, Be the Change. Because I'm a big believer in turning really powerful feelings into action. Because I think that that's what we're here for. I think that HSPs are, I know some of you don't know this about yourselves, and some of you are learning it, but I believe in our strength and resiliency. I've seen it every day. And I know that some of the deep feelers in the world are some of the people who make the greatest positive changes in the world too. I absolutely know that for certain, but I also know that we have to continue to use our tools. We have to continue to practice the type of care that keeps us balanced, and we have to prioritize that, or else we're no good for anybody. And that is a fact. So if I'm falling apart, if I'm doing too much and I'm not taking care of myself, I can't help others, and neither can you. So we stick with the mission that we have here, that we continue to use our tools and practice and sharpen them to try to get stronger. But we are in pain, and we have to acknowledge that that's our experience right now. But I do believe that positive change often comes from a great amount of suffering. Even if I think about my own experience in my life, I didn't really make positive change in my life until I was suffering too much. So I think that for me, that's the hope, is that I totally believe in positive change. And I believe that many of you are going to be part of that. So let me just take a look at the comments. Yeah, Nif says, I have depression, but unfortunately I don't accept it. And it isn't so much about accepting the depression, but because I believe that we absolutely have to use tools to support ourselves through depression and to get to the other side of it. I've been in depression myself, and I know that there's no movement that happens in depression, so it takes a lot of work to work through that. And the fact that you're here and you're learning, and I'm hoping that you're getting a lot of support in your life, whether it's through close friends and family, through a good therapist, something like that, where, and our community. I mean, this is a really special space of people. So I'm just checking too if anybody has their hands raised, and you can do that by clicking down at the participants link at the bottom. And Albie says, I think acknowledgement is the first step in accepting. Baby steps, gotta walk before we run. Big hugs. Absolutely, I love it. Yes, we gotta walk before we run. That is so true. And that's what we're doing. I mean, you guys are part of the change. This is why I have a whole topic called Be the Change, because you are people who show up and do the work, because you're here doing the work. And that is very different than somebody who's not doing the work. And I think that needs to be acknowledged as well. So yes, glad that everybody is here. Let me go into some questions. I'm not seeing anybody have a particular question live, so I'm going to go into the earlier questions that were posted, and then I'll keep checking back with you guys. And if you need anything, please put it in the chat, okay? I also wanted to share a quote too that I thought was kind of powerful. It's from Audre Lorde, and it's not our differences that divide us. It's our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences. And I sometimes think as HSPs that we, in our own way, in our experience, we have understood that need for acceptance, to understand our differences, and to celebrate those differences. And I continue with that mission as well. Cecilia says, I've been receiving feedback that I'm too good or too nice for the world. Why is that a negative? How should I respond? That's a great question. Why is that a negative? And what does somebody even mean by being too good or too nice? I don't understand that kind of language myself. It doesn't feel supportive. It doesn't really make sense. And you're saying, I think I'm seen as too soft, and it seems to hinder me in the workplace. This is my mission, is that we change how we perceive sensitivity and softness, because from my experience, I've seen sensitivity is absolutely needed in the world. And the problem is that we're dealing with the majority who don't have this trait, don't understand the differences, and a lot of HSPs don't even understand the differences. So the fact that you're here and learning about the differences, and we've seen so many of you already become empowered in this community to really embrace a new narrative. That's something I had to do too. I definitely did not used to see my sensitivity as a gift. And I think that many of us relate to that. And when we hear messages like that, it can hurt us. But it only hurts us if we're holding a container filled with some of that ourselves. So if somebody had said those words to me many years ago when I was, what I call an untrained HSP versus now as a trained HSP, I'm going to experience those words very differently, because I believed some of that before. That there was something wrong with me for being sensitive. I completely don't believe that now. Now I believe the exact opposite to that, that we are needed in the world. There's a reason why you're a deep feeler. And there are so many beautiful things that come out of it. And we need both types of people in the world. So anybody that tries to give you messages that how you are or who you are is wrong some way, don't hold a container open for them to dump that stuff into. Let's not hold that container open. Let's stand up tall, empowered, support your community, support who you are in the world, because I absolutely know that you're needed and very valuable. So Tina asks, how to tell when meeting a potential friend if they're going to be parasitic about our HSP empathy and energy. Are there questions we can ask in addition to checking in, how we are feeling in their presence and after spending time with someone? The responsibility is on us. And what I mean by that is that it's not our responsibility, it's not their responsibility to sort of be a certain way for us. It's really our responsibility to decide at the level at which we choose to be treated by others, and that we are part of change in the world in some way. And I think that when you are filling up that sense of self, and you become more strong in who you are as a person in the world, as a sensitive person in the world, then you automatically raise that standard, that bar for how to be treated. So if I use my own example, before I was trained as an HSP and had really low self-esteem, I already wasn't treating myself well. So it was very easy for other people not to treat me well. But as I raised in my own belief about who I was, and really stepped into my authenticity and embraced who I was in the world, my own bar raised for how I viewed myself in the world, which also means that my expectation for how I'm treated in the world changes. So it completely begins inside of ourselves. So that's my message with that. And I hope that's helpful. Trying to see some comments if it's relating to what we're talking about. Cheryl says, how do you respond to those comments that we are too sensitive, too good, etc.? I'd say thank you. Thank you. I love being sensitive and a good person in the world. And, where are they going with that information? What is their point? If they're trying to put me down, I'm not going to accept that. So, if I'm in the mood, I might inquire more about where's that coming from? What message are they trying to share with that? But the most important thing is to go down into my core about what I believe about myself. And that's where the change occurs. It didn't matter how many times somebody else told me it. What really mattered is that I made the change inside of myself to value who I am in the world. And spending time with other HSPs, I think you're starting to realize that value more. I mean, this is such a beautiful community filled with such loving, caring people who really care about others. And I think that you start to see yourself reflected in the kindness of this community and the goodness in this community. So let that be part of an example of, a mirror showing back who you are in the world. I hope that's helpful. And so, and Tina, also a second part of that question, how to control osmosis with everyone and everything around us with the wall analogy that you've spoken of, Julie, how to bring that wall up and down at will, which kind of dovetails with my question above. Yeah, so that, just to explain that wall a little bit. I don't think that we need to open up and sort of expose our vulnerability to everybody in the world. I actually think that we can pick and choose. And I think it only, the wall being up becomes a problem if we are not able to put it down for anybody. And even if you just pick a few close people in your life to put it down, that's a success. If you can put that down and really truly connect with another person, that's the success. But it's also okay to have it up. And I talk about this maybe in a different way than you might have heard before, but I myself believe in being able to control that wall. So if I'm in a situation, as an extremely sensitive person in the world, I think that sometimes having a wall up is a form of protection or boundary, and not a bad thing if it's in the right circumstances, as long as I can also put it down. Now, I didn't used to be able to put it down, so it was up all the time. And that wasn't healthy because I wasn't truly connecting with others with my wall up. And so I had to begin that practice of practicing being vulnerable with people and opening up and sharing myself. And as many of you have been with me for a while, you've heard me say how scary that was. I remember that. I remember physically shaking, which means my body sent out alarms bells that thought I was in danger. I was so scared to put my wall down for anybody. But I was also determined to learn how to do it because I was lonely, I was depressed, I was not connected, and other people might not have even realized that. I had my mask on with my smile and acted like everything was okay, but it wasn't. And so learning how to be open about my journey, about being able to be vulnerable about it, comes from a lot of work. It did take a lot of work to get there, but baby steps, practicing. You're here, you're asking questions. Tina, you're a member in this community who really does stretch yourself. You're involved in these live events, and you post in the community, and you keep learning. I've seen you grow even since you've been here. And that means you're already taking those steps and you're asking these questions, and it's such a powerful thing. And we keep practicing this. And with every event we've done, we give you specific tips and tools during each one of the things that every post that I do in this community, every event that I do in this community is really meant to be giving you steps of growth to support you through your experiences, because I absolutely know what it's like to suffer as a sensitive person. And so I have such a mission to help you guys develop these tools. And it's a practice. It takes practice. So that's a beautiful thing. Oh, Tina says, I thank you. I feel so much better than I did just 6 months ago. How beautiful is that? I mean, let's celebrate that for a second, that is such a beautiful thing. And you took those steps. You made the decision to join this community. You make the decision to attend these events. You make the decision to ask questions, to learn, to grow, to connect. You've made that decision along the way. And so you're absolutely a part of that needed change. And I got a little bit behind on if anybody asks me any questions. So if I miss anything, please just repeat it, copy and paste it back in there, and put like a question in front of it so I don't miss your question. And Chrysalis is talking about, hers was kind of a long one, so I'm going to try to just summarize it a little bit. I just have to ask, see what Tina says. You know what I just realized last night? I added a 1,000-pound weight to my husband when I react strongly. This is something I can control and improve. Yay me. Great awareness. So the next question is around the message of loving yourself and turning inward, and the push to destigmatize therapy. Her question is, how is that not still looking outward? And she recognizes a religious PTSD created even more sensitivity and trust issues, and that it feels counterintuitive to be vulnerable and share who you really are with just anyone. I find myself waiting to encourage anyone thinking that they have to find their right mentor to be skeptical of that message, who's telling them that they can only look within by attaching outside themselves. Such a great discussion, and I have so many layers I want to share in this about this. And I think you're totally not alone in the PTSD of sometimes the messages that are around religion. But what I want to say is not every therapist is a good therapist. And I learned that the hard way when I was going through doing my work and seeing some different therapists. There's some terrible therapists out there, and I think we need to acknowledge that, but there's also some really good ones. And as a therapist, I think about, when I'm thinking about giving advice about reaching out to a therapist, it comes from the perspective that you have found a therapist who you trust, who you can open up to, and maybe you need to build that. I actually had to build that with a therapist that I finally ended up really working with and loving years ago. It actually took me a long time to open up to her because I had my wall up, and it was even hard to open it up to her, you know, to put it down. And so be patient with yourself in this process. And I believe that if you can find a good therapist, coach, healer, some people even do good in those kind of circumstances. The concept is, especially for talk therapy, it's about having support with someone that's really good at being able to go down inside of you with you. Now, they're not adding anything, they're not changing what you're experiencing, but it's almost like they're standing with you to help you explore the parts that might be hard for you to explore on your own. That's how I see my work. So if I'm working with a client, and I do a lot less one-on-one work now than I used to, but I used to do a lot of it. And part of it was about being able to hold a container for someone that was in a lot of pain. And I know when I was in a lot of pain, it was really hard to go down into those deep places inside of me and explore really painful, emotional, wounding places. So when you are with a skilled therapist who's very good at this, and I think about how I do it, and that's why I really love HSPs, to work with other HSPs. And I have, if you guys don't know, I do have a practitioners list of HSP practitioners on my website. And we're growing that because I really want to connect you guys. And I think of it as like, let me go down inside with you and help you explore what's in there. And when something's really hard, I'm going to be here with you, and I'm going to help you explore it, and we're going to get to know it. We're going to hear the core messages inside of it, and we're going to understand what kind of healing we need. And holding that really safe container is a big part of that. And I always say, if you're working with a therapist, you want to do your research. Most important thing is that you feel connected to them and you feel like you can open up and trust them. That's the most important part. And you can interview therapists. If you go once or twice and you are not feeling it with that therapist, don't stay. Find another one and really commit to that kind of support. So having said that, some people really benefit from that, especially if you've had trauma or abuse in your past and it hasn't been something that you've dealt with yet and that you haven't had healing with yet. Then working with a trained professional can support you in those areas if you're working with the right one. So I hope that kind of helps. And I think that lots of people are able to also really do, especially HSPs, it even shows up in the research that we're quite good at having self-help resources and really being good at using them. So for some people, you know, taking one of the courses, being in this community, reading self-help books, doing their own internal work is enough. And sometimes it's not. So I hope that that kind of clears it up a little bit for you guys. Let me check the messages here. If anybody needs me to answer anything. Yeah, Cecilia says you felt that way with so let's see, any more questions? Yeah, there's a lot of different kinds of therapists out there doing it in a lot of different ways. So trust your instincts. You have excellent instincts as an HSP. to trust or not trust something. Linda asks, are we born HSPs, or is it a genetic in the family thing, or is it something we could get out of a traumatic experience? This is an innate trait that you're born with. You don't get the trait from having a traumatic experience, but it's possible that some HSPs are more impacted by traumatic experiences. So hopefully that kind of answers that question. And I'm going to go into some more questions. Michelle Johnson, feeling quite nervous in lockdown and not traveled on public transport for a few months, and was wondering, are the tools to bypass emotional brain and self-compassion the best ones to try to relax me? And also, can HSPs increase this self-esteem, as I find negative self-talk is a habit on repeat? What do you guys think? The people that have been here for a while, do you think that we can increase our self-esteem and we can work on our self-talk? I like to even hear you guys in that. Yes. Tina says yes, 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 yes. Nancy says yes. And Cecilia says yes, definitely. Becca says yes. Linda says yes. Love it. I love that you guys know that. Abby says whoop whoop. Yeah, absolutely. We can improve that. Renata says absolutely. Yeah, mirror work can be helpful. That is very true, Tina says. And so just to talk about that, yes, I mean, the fact that you're here asking questions and learning, I really, really recommend people catch up on live events. If you have not watched all the events in our HSP library, make a plan to try to watch them. There's so many pieces of just nuggets of gold in those events. The things that we've talked about, we've shared so many tools. We have so many tools written in our podcast, the posts that we do in the community. Check out the topics, read through all the topics, because nothing expires in this community. This is a little bit of a different community like that many of the earlier posts, like when we first started this community, were a lot about the trait, sharing tips, and we've got the positivity tank filling, and so much good information. So I really recommend, especially if you haven't taken one of my courses and you don't plan to, spend time reading the posts and watching the events in the library. I tell you, it's going to change your life. There are so many good pieces of information to learn. And yes, and again, there's a lot of tips about bypassing emotional brain, increasing self-compassion. Hopefully you're practicing the self-compassion technique that I've taught you guys. There's a video of it. There's so many good things. There's a whole section of meditation and journal prompts and growth work in one of our topics, and I really recommend that you do that. This takes work to make these kinds of changes. It is not magic. It does not happen overnight, but you can make really big steps in your growth if you keep at it and you keep soaking in the information that we're talking about, connecting with each other. It's going to change your life. I know that because I've already seen many of you doing that. It's changed my life. Thousands of HSPs I've worked with. I know that this makes a difference. So keep working at it. And yes, there's a lot of things that you can do that retrain your brain. You guys know that, I'm a big believer in brain training. So let's see, what else? Anything else going on this that I need to read? Yeah, Kathy says, big change for me too after Julie's course. Learn to love and accept myself. Woo, that's a big one. Yes, you know what, Kathy? You need to celebrate that. And I hope you put it in our wins, our empowerment wins, because what a huge thing to shift, being able to love and accept yourself. I know that myself because I did not used to love and accept myself, and now I do, and life is completely different, and every possibility is different. Who you have in your life, how you spend your life, what you do with your life, it's all different when you work on that. And it can be shifted and it can be grown. Tina says, I'll just read some of these. I agree, Cecilia, the HSP brain class is priceless, tremendous benefits. I'm so happy you guys are I'm so proud of you guys for doing, and the brain training class is actually self-paced. So it excites me that you're actually going through it and learning this stuff. It would be very easy to purchase a course and just be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, maybe I'll get to it one day. But you guys are actually doing it, and that's a huge thing. And I'm super excited about that. You're using the tools, you're learning the tools, you're practicing them. That's very exciting. Cecilia says more self-compassion and less negative self-talk. Yes. Absolutely. Self-compassion replaces negative self-talk, and just keep paying attention to it because it does get better. I to this day get amazed sometimes at how I still catch myself like when I need it. And it took me a long time to get to the point where self-compassion was faster to get to than it used to be. It used to be that I'd have to go through this whole process of shame and feeling bad and all these things. But now I can move into self-compassion a lot faster, which means I recover faster, and I'm able to continue my mission in the world. And that's wonderful. Linda, my job is helping with my self-esteem because I am her teacher. Yes, I've been getting praise for my distant learning. Gives me a boost plus. I use the tools with her. Good for you. Yes, these tools can be taught to kids and teens, which is really wonderful. Like the self-compassion check. Very good. I love it. You're teaching the student you're working with is self-compassion. Wonderful, Linda. How beautiful. Yeah, Kathy says, yes, completely different. Feelings of peace. Isn't it amazing how we actually can reach a feeling of peace when we're a compassionate friend to ourselves instead of being hard on ourselves? I mean, that's what we really need, and that shifts everything. Tina says, I still reread your book for the course. Oh, wonderful. Yes. Oh, Tina, I like what you said. I feel like I've gained time back in my life. Way more productive now. Isn't it amazing how much more productive we can be when we're not wasting our energy points on being hard on ourselves and kicking ourselves when we're down and using these tools instead? I mean, it's kind of amazing, and it's almost difficult to explain to somebody who hasn't experienced it yet, because I even know myself, I thought that it was impossible to overcome depression and anxiety at the level that I had it. And I thought it was impossible to love myself. I really thought that. And I get shocked at just my ability to reach those levels right now. It's incredible. And I'm so happy to see you guys doing that. It just warms my heart so much that you are really kind of practicing and benefiting from these tools. Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, tapping into my needs keeps myself busy satisfying those needs. Yeah, we get to use the energy points that we were using and basically throwing away by being hard on ourselves, and put those instead into healing and movement and change and becoming the person that we were meant to be in this world. Absolutely. Nif says, how can I accept myself and forgive her if I cannot do what I want? And I have struggled a lot to be more better, but unfortunately it doesn't work, especially at work. And how many of you listening right now can say that you felt that movement from learning how to, from not accepting yourself and being hard on yourself to moving into a place of self-acceptance and being able to forgive yourself and find self-compassion? How many of you listening have been able to do that? And how has that changed your life? I think that, the power is in hearing each other's stories, in knowing that it's possible. I think I remember you saying you were only 25. The fact that you're even trying to learn these tools at 25 excites me too, because I wasn't learning these tools at 25. I was kind of a mess at 25. It practically took me till I reached my 40s before I even started to accept some of this and to learn and grow and change. So you're practicing, you're asking the questions, you're aware, and that's a really good first start. Yeah, Nancy says, getting there, getting better, knowing it's possible. Yes, absolutely. And if you like it, Cecilia, I have for sure, I feel stronger. I still get knocked down. Yeah, we all do. So sometimes I pick myself up faster. That's the thing is, and sensitive empowerment is not about never getting knocked down. That is not accurate, and we are not perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. And it's really, it is exactly what you're saying, Cecilia. It's about getting up faster. And I used to, when something knocked me over, I could be down for weeks, sometimes months. Now, maybe it's hours, maybe it's even minutes, and I can't, or maybe it's a day, and that's okay too. We support ourselves through whatever we're experiencing. And what I see a lot of you talking about, which excites me, is you notice a difference between when you're using your tools and when you're not. And most of the time when we really drop our tools and start to fall apart, it is because we dropped our tools and we stopped using them. Not because they're missing and they're not possible to get back. So my whole thing about sensitive empowerment movement is about going back and picking up the tools when you drop them, noticing, pause, reflect, and respond. That's what we're growing. So that you notice, yes, I dropped my tools. How do I get them back? Oops, I need to go back and do it. I need to go back and get those tools and start doing them and practicing them again. And that's what it looks like. You keep practicing, you keep sharpening those tools, and then you access them much faster. So I like that. Let's see what else we got here. I just love what you guys are all. Matea says, I'm really thankful to your words. They give me the option to express myself. I started using your words to explain to others what is going on with me. I used the analogy with ruler to my partner, and it made much better explanation than my words before. Oh, good. I'm so glad that my words are supporting you in that way. And Linda, I'm much older than that, finally getting to know who I am. Beautiful. There is no time in your life where it is too late. I 100% agree. In one of my courses, I had somebody who was almost 90 years old, and I was so excited about that she was in a place in her life that she was still wanting to learn and grow. And that's what it's all about. I'm not done growing. You're not done growing. None of us are ever going to be done growing, but we keep at it and we keep practicing. And Kathy says, yes, but not overnight. It's a process, been changing for a year, and it gets better as time goes on. Every day is learning. Awareness is huge. Yes, I totally agree with you on that one. That's a good one. Linda, it's not a disability like I've been told. Absolutely not a disability. No way. And Niv says, what does it mean, or what should I do when I miss myself? What do you mean by that? Can you clarify that for me a little bit when you say I miss myself? I'll look for that in the comments. Renata says, I realized the moment I started to practice self-compassion and started to accept myself, I started to feel better. Isn't that amazing, Renata? Totally. I'm so happy and to hear that, because that is so true. It is an incredible gift. And I always say this to you guys are the cream of the crop in terms of you are people who show up in the world and actually take intentional steps to change and to improve and make things better. And that sets you apart from a lot of people. So that these first steps you all have already started, even if you just started, you've already started these steps, and that's huge. Linda, thank you. I needed this talk this morning. Good. And Renata says, I tried to apologize less and seek less outside validation. I also find myself accepting that many people will not understand me, and that's okay. Yes, that is absolutely okay if people don't understand you, unless, as long as you understand yourself. That's a big one. Tina says, I didn't know what self-compassion was until this community. The tool brought it home for me, the physical hand to heart, looking within. Beautiful. Oh, I love that. I'm so proud of you guys. It's really such an amazing, like when I look back on my life, one of the things that I love the most is witnessing people like you who are willing to walk through the mud and get the tools and figure out how to use them and teach yourself and keep practicing. That is so beautiful, because I think it was Kathy was saying, like, when she thinks about herself from the beginning until now, even a year after using tools, I mean, imagine how life changes, whether it's 6 months, a month, 2 years. I mean, imagine the shifts that occur. Even in my own journey, I think about that, the shifts that have occurred, the goals that I set for myself, I never thought I could reach when I was untrained. And now the sky's the limit in so many ways. Yeah. So let me go through some more. Kathy asks, I'm struggling with being emotionally and physically drained when I'm looking after my 4-year-old grandson during the day. I've done this for 2 months since no school due to COVID. And she also left an update that her daughter-in-law is going to get a babysitter twice a week. And that what I like what she said, especially in her update, was learning to tell people. So she said, because there will be a babysitter for part of it, she's going to get back some of her time to herself. And the thing that I love the most is she says, learning to tell people what my needs are in the next situation. I will try and be more assertive with expressing how I'm feeling and what I need instead of waiting for someone to notice I'm feeling overwhelmed. Oh, Kathy, I love that so much. Yes. And I was the exact same way before, as I used to think, well, they should know what I need. They should know I'm so overwhelmed. But that's not their role. It's our role. It's our role and our job description to communicate our needs. And this has been something that I've been saying from the very beginning. We have to know what our needs are to communicate those needs. And I love that, Kathy, that you put in that update that you learn that lesson. So that is such a great lesson to learn, that you know that there's so much power in being able to express your needs, and to know that, yeah, watching a little one every day is exhausting. I remember I was taking care of my niece's little one, who was like not even 2 at the time, and I was like so excited because I really loved when my kids were little. It was such a really special time. But I'm much older now, and I was exhausted. I was so exhausted, and I was like, how did I ever do this every day? Although it is different when it's your own children, I think, and your life is set up that way than when you're babysitting your grandchildren or something. So what a great lesson in that. I love that. Yeah, Renata says, figuring out our needs and limits is a huge game changer. Isn't it? Absolutely. Micah says, did anyone find the need to grieve when you accepted that people don't need to understand you? It's sad for me that I can't be understood. I feel like I have important ideas and thoughts and awareness, but it feels as though the world doesn't see it this way. Well, you are in the right place because we see it. And this is why I'm always saying that we need to spend time in communities with other sensitive people, because we see it and we have the awareness. And because there's sadness and grief in there, I'm guessing that you're not quite in the space yet that fills that container up for yourself and doesn't need other people to fill it up. That took me a while to get there too. That this seeking of external validation, or the seeking of external understanding, like I need them to understand me. And somehow if they understood me, that would be better. But yeah, of course it would be great for people to understand each other, but whether or not you have the trait, we really don't ever completely understand each other, because we've all had a different background, different parenting, different experiences, that we can't truly understand each other to very deep levels, but we can try. And what most important though is that we need to understand ourselves. So if we fill up our own sense of self-container, we don't need other people to fill up our container. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, says, yep, still filling it up for myself and realizing I have not have any HSPs in my circle. Now you do. Now you have us in your circle. And I tell you, the more you spend time in this community, and I really recommend you guys, I've put posts in there for you guys to develop friendships, to talk with each other, get to know each other, you can message each other privately, develop friendships with each other. I know so many of you want them. And this is the time, as we start to make shifts in our life, we get, our vibrations sort of increase, and we want to connect with other people at those levels. And that's what you're doing. And that's such a beautiful thing. I love it. Okay, so let's see. My last question, and we're pretty good on time, is from Angie. Has some challenges around managing self-sabotage when going for career goals. I'm working on rewiring the self-image of being less capable around stress management, handling things. a lot of career paths that I'm drawn to involve long investments and emotionally draining potentially, like social work, dealing with people constantly, lots of back and forth moments, a fear around burnout, that it's too stressful. How can I stop over worrying? This fear that doing what is needed to be successful would be too much, and finding the balance. Oh boy, my heart goes out to you, Angie, because boy, do I understand that. I remember when I was in my undergraduate, I actually, at that time, so many years ago, for a little while, I had a social work as my undergraduate degree. And I had people talk me out of it. They said I was too sensitive, I was going to take it all home. And maybe in some ways when I was so young like that, maybe, and I'm not sure of your age, Angie, but, or your level of sort of HSP training, but what I do know is that we don't want, the answer is not how to stop the fear, but the answer is how to address the fear and support yourself through it. And I've found that as many of us are in helping professions, which means that we are giving a lot. And I can remember when I was an intern, I was seeing so many clients every day, and it was really easy to burn out, which is why I'm a strong advocate for HSPs, healers, to raise prices and see less clients, because I think ultimately you have so much to offer as an HSP healer, and you will be worth that when you are not depleted. And so that's a big part of it, is learning that balance. That is, once you learn the balance, and it isn't perfect all the time. I still get off balance sometimes. And it's usually when I stopped using certain tools, or maybe I didn't go into nature, or I worked too much, or I watched too much news, or I didn't set boundaries, or I didn't meditate. And I'm just using some examples. But developing this awareness around, when I do these things, I feel this way, and when I don't do these things, I feel this way, is huge. And the balance is always ongoing. Like, I finally learned how to prioritize balance as the most important thing. And I know so many HSPs are not doing that. I didn't used to do it. And I know it's like so easy, especially as a mom, to be like, I have to take care of everybody else's needs. And if there's time, I'll get to mine. That actually doesn't work, because if I'm showing up completely depleted, I'm definitely not the kind of mom that I want to be. And so I finally got it, that prioritizing my own balance was the key. And it takes, no matter what you do as an HSP, and also depends on how high you are on the scale of sensitivity. Like if you've taken my sensitivity scale, I'm way up at the top, and it's a constant balance of what can I do in the world, but also how do I take care of myself in it. And you're asking these questions, you're having legitimate fears come up, and I would definitely support, work on supporting yourself through some of those fears, and keep working on your balance. What makes you feel your best? And I really do believe, I didn't just suddenly show up with this really successful business that I have. It was years in the making, years of saying, wow, that didn't work, and this didn't work, and seeing all these clients in one day didn't work. So how do I make those changes? It took time, increasing my fees a little bit at a time, pushing through some of those fears by giving myself self-compassion, paying attention, writing my life template, what works and what doesn't. And every one of us is different. Our circumstances are different. Our sensitivities are different. And what we need at any particular moment might be different. What I need today might be different than what I need tomorrow. And the key is to really keep listening to your body cues that will teach you what you need and what's working and what isn't. And you got that ability as an HSP to really use those special gifts. That seems like something so easy, but a lot of people don't have that ability. So use that as your ability. Pay attention to the things that really light you up, the things that, your callings, the things that make you feel good when you're feeling really good. That's why anybody who's taken my courses, about positive journaling versus growth journaling, that you're really tracking what you're doing when you're feeling good, and you're tracking what's happening when you're not feeling good. So you get to know, and you create these templates for your life. So hopefully that is supportive to you guys. We're already at our end, but I want to give anybody a chance to put a question in or thoughts. Has this been helpful for you guys today? What did you feel like you learned? What was supportive? I love to hear from you. Renata says super helpful. Good. I'm happy to see that. Tina says, yes, you are an HSP pursuing a science career. Or maybe that's an answer to somebody else. Linda, thank you, Julie. Yes, stay focused, believe in self. Absolutely. I mean, can you guys name maybe, Abby says, amazing today, at least 3 points I've been needing assistance with. Thanks everybody for asking these questions. I feel I hit the jackpot. Wonderful. Matea, listening more and more is so helpful. It takes time to absorb all of it. I need to hear a lot from you. And you've been doing the work, and I think that's fantastic. Renata, I love this reminder, being here for others who feel lost and alone. We're in this together, and we should give ourselves credit for being here, supporting one another. Absolutely. I just got goosebumps about that, what you just said, Renata, because you absolutely stand out. This community stands out because you have all done that one step, like I'm gonna do it, even if I'm scared or it's unknown, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna stretch myself, and I'm gonna learn these tools, and I'm going to participate in these events, and I'm gonna ask questions, and I'm gonna learn, and I'm gonna absorb. That's why I was saying, watch all the events, because you absorb different pieces from each event that really make a difference. I love it. Kathy says, so helpful, and to be with others that feel the same way. Yes, I mean, that's such a beautiful thing. I love that we're together and we support each other. There's so much love and support and caring in this community. And I'm so proud of you all for helping to create a space that offers that. And you all are doing that. You're the container of this community, and you're doing that. You're offering that to each other, and we give and we receive in this community, and that's a beautiful thing. Really beautiful. Mike says, very helpful, hoping I can spend more time with this community. I'm learning to set proper and graceful boundaries so that I can get the self-care in. Good. I hope you can spend more time with us too. I think it's a beautiful place to be and to learn. Bridget says, beautiful shares. Kathy, self-care is so important. We need that reminder sometimes. Yes, we're changing the messages we were given, and we are now focusing on what works and what doesn't work for us, not other people, but us. That's important in terms of self-care and downtime. So I am so proud of everybody. Thank you for, just you guys asked such great questions, and my heart is so warm when I think about you all, and I think about, it's kind of mind-blowing and amazing when you think about it, that we've created this community of people that are dedicated to empowerment, which really means dedicated to making the world a better place. And I know that you do that, and that it just takes the work to become a trained HSP, to learn what works and what doesn't, to follow the steps that lead you to balancing a sensitive nervous system, that teaches you about boundaries and self-care and what works and what doesn't, and creating healthy relationships. And I'm so moved by the efforts you put in. I almost feel like crying about it, because I totally understand what it's like to be in those places. And it excites me that you are in those places, that you are taking those steps, and that you support each other and you share your stories with each other. And what a beautiful thing to create this community, this global community where we can be together from all over the world, really embracing each other and always looking for ways to improve and become empowered, support each other, make the world a better place. I know that you do that. And I just want to say thank you, that I am super proud of you all, and I'm really proud of this community. I have to say, Deborah's, for the first time in my 49 years, I don't feel defective and I don't feel alone. Thank you, Julie. Oh, that warms my heart so much. Really does. Everyone, thank you. You guys I just love spending time with you all. And thank you for sharing yourselves. Thank you for being here for each other. Thank you for showing up for yourself in the world in a new way, a new empowered way. I love you guys. And I'm really wishing you all the best. I'm off now to go. The changes in the world. My son we're doing a drive-through diploma pickup because he just graduated high school. And since there's a pandemic, we're not doing an actual graduation, so we're doing a drive-through one right now, which is interesting. So yeah, we keep adapting, don't we? We adapt and we grow and we change. And I hope that what you're learning most of all is how special your hearts are. A sensitive heart is one of the most beautiful hearts that I know. And thank you for showing up with such, just such beauty, internal beauty in the world and loving hearts. Thank you, everybody. You're amazing. And let's keep being with each other. Let's keep supporting each other. This is a powerful step in our community to be this way for each other. So thank you, everyone. I want you to continue taking really good care of yourself out there and each other. Take care of yourselves and each other. Okay, everybody? Take care. It's so nice to spend time with everybody. Love you guys. And I'll see you in the community. Bye, everyone.